Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Everton show, a week in which we've lifted ourselves to the very cusp of another visit to Wembley. But if the Capital One Cup quarter-final win at Middlesbrough was fairly routine, the previous game at Bournemouth was anything but. We'll be dissecting both games in this week's show in the charming company of Graham Stewart. Welcome, Diamond. Before we speak about those games, quick word on the draw, Manchester City in the semi-final.
I think it's the toughest draw we could have had, but they're there to be beaten, they're there to be shot down, and we're in good form, and we've got to make sure that we remember that. We're in good form. We know we've got a difficult month coming ahead, everybody has, but you know, we're ready to go out there and take care of them over the two legs and then beat the Reds in the final.
We certainly like doing it the hard way, don't we? This is what we've got for you this week.
Getting on for 7 months now since I played any competitive football, so just nice to be back involved and to get on the pitch as well was great.
Well, yeah, I think I'm happy now for my first goal in Everton, so I think it's a bitter taste because we couldn't win the game.
He comes along and, you know, he's an inspiration to the guys, and they look at him and they see where he is now. He's got a family, he's also got a great job as well that he loves. So it's an inspiration that them guys can look to achieve.
I remember early on loving Roberto's enthusiasm, and one day in the pre-season training we went on a run and John Dean said pick a partner. He was the manager, John Dean, and me and Roberto picked each other more.
Can't believe it. I didn't even, you know, I got up and bought the half season tickets on the day they came out, but I had no idea that this was a possibility, so fantastic.
Roberto Martinez, as we'll hear later in the show, was a hugely frustrated man after that 6-goal encounter with Bournemouth, but he cut a rather more contented figure after watching his players ease past Middlesbrough and into the last 4 of the Capital One Cup.
We knew it was a very tough game. I think we controlled that aspect very well, and from the away fans creating that special feeling the moment that we got onto the pitch, we carried on with a real focus and real concentration, and then from that point on we've been ourselves. We controlled the game well, we stopped Middlesbrough from having the threat that we normally seen in the Championship, and from that point on to score the 2 goals that we had with real quality, it was a bit of a sense of showing what we learned at the weekend, to get a 2-goal lead and being able to manage the game, and from that point on keep a clean sheet was very pleasing, and just delighted in the manner that we got through into the semi-finals, which it was the target and is a great achievement, and just delighted because the fans can go home now and keep a nice memory with a real sense of pride of our performance.
Terrific composure from Gerrard for the first goal. He tucked it away lovely, didn't he?
He did, yeah. I think it looks. We all know that he's got that swagger and that confidence about him, but he's been working really hard and he gets in great positions, and then he's got that clinical decision. It was the goal, then it was the assist, the 1v1 situation in a really familiar area of the pitch, and I thought his performance was very significant. But I thought the youth in the team was very expressive and full of bravery and full of good football, but I thought the old heads were very much very important in allowing that youth in being effective. I thought Gareth Barry and Leon Osman were an incredible way of setting the standards and allowing the young players to enjoy a big footballing occasion, but a real good football game.
And as if the night wasn't good enough, Leighton Baines is back in action.
Well, that's a really special sign. It's been a long time and a lot of suffering from Leighton's point of view. More than anything is that re-injury or just, it wasn't a re-injury, it's injuring an area that you had injury previously, and that's a real test of character. He's been working really hard, and just seeing him opening his legs and being able to get a bit of a feeling of a footballer again is very special. It's important that we get everyone back. The competition for places is probably the reason that we can come in places like this in a cup competition and be as strong as we were. And it was a real good moment to see Leighton back in contention.
Well, that win at the Riverside was just what the travelling blue masses had hoped for, and an already terrific evening was topped off by the return to action of Leighton Baines. After 7 long months on the sidelines, Leighton was relieved to lace up the boots once again.
Great to get back out on the pitch. It's been a long time for me, you know, from last season. getting on for 7 months now since I played any competitive football, so just nice to be back involved and to get on the pitch as well was great.
He scored one, he set one up. Another good night for the boy.
Yeah, he's just outstanding at the moment, and you know there's periods in games where he is quite literally unplayable, and as I say, people like that need a little bit of protection. You see the left back got booked, I think, at one point for a very rash tackle on him, and you could see that they targeted him in the second half, and as I say, he needs a bit of protection when he's getting lumps kicked out of him, but it's the only way to stop him at times. The form he's in is breathtaking.
It was a nice game for you to come on to, wasn't it? Because although it was a cup quarter final, we were 2 up in it and we were fairly comfortable.
Yeah, we were, relatively in control. We could have controlled the second half a little bit better at times. We should have kept the ball in their half a bit more. But you come away, massive crowd here at Middlesbrough. They're a good team. You know they're going to have a bit of momentum at some point in the game. They did, but it wasn't like we were ever hanging on or anything like that. We were fairly comfortable throughout the second half, really.
You're a vastly experienced player, but the reception you got from the Evertonians when you came on, it's still nice to hear, isn't it?
Yeah, the support it's the best around, and especially when we're on the road like this. The best support in the league, and the lads speak about it. We do talk about it in the dressing room. These away games, and it was Seamus coming off the pitch. We were walking together, and it was just a look at that. And it's so appreciated. You come here, it's a long journey. We know people have been working, spending the money to come up on a Tuesday night and support us, and we're incredibly thankful to them.
And you've made the night by reaching the semi-finals. When you get to the semi-finals of a major competition, you're going to get a hard tie, aren't you?
Yeah, there's no easy rides, and we're prepared for that now. We're just made up to be in the draw. Get to put our feet up tomorrow night and see who we get, really, and look forward to that tie. There's plenty of football to be played in between, and our form's decent at the moment. We'll try and improve on it and go into it as strong as possible.
Just finally, what does the rest of the season hold for you? What's your ambitions now?
Well, obviously this cup run is something we're all excited about. You can see by the way we played, you can see by the support we brought, so very excited about that. And we're not far off in the league where we want to be. We're a few good results away from getting back in the mix for those European positions, and no better time to hit form than now over this Christmas period. And we're excited about where we're at the moment and looking forward.
Graham, as well as being a cup quarter-final away from home, that game at Middlesbrough must have been a huge test of character for the boys, especially after what happened at Bournemouth. Well, it was, and especially when we went 2-0 up again as well, because I guarantee every Evertonian was thinking, hang on a minute, we've been here before. But, that was the lesson learned, and that was, take away the quality of the 2 goals, which were terrific goals. The manner that we dealt with the occasion, based on the fact that we'd lost a 2-goal lead, a couple of days before. I think that would really have pleased Roberto. It was a most welcome clean sheet, wasn't it? That's for sure. Well, if Ramiro Funes Mori didn't know all about the swings and roundabouts of an English Premier football match, then he certainly does now. The Argentinian, already an immensely popular figure down at Finch Farm, headed his first ever goal for the Toffees against Bournemouth, but then shared the heartache of an incredible finish to the afternoon. After the final whistle at the Vitality Stadium, Dean Court to me and you, isn't it? Last weekend, he caught his breath and gave this reaction to the Everton show.
Overall, first half we did a great first half, and then second half we couldn't keep the position of the ball, and that's why we ended up tying the game.
Sometimes you have to give the opposition credit, and Bournemouth played well in the second half.
Yeah, I think they really pressure a lot. Like I said, we couldn't get the tempo of the game. We couldn't have 3, 4 passes together, and I think they second half they dominated the second half.
The players a little bit disappointed that the referee seemed to play more than 5 minutes additional time.
Well, I guess maybe because the celebration, that's why he had another minute. But we can do nothing about it. I mean, we have to be focused and concentrated on the last play to not score on us.
The dressing room was very, very quiet at the end of the game, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's disappointment because we know first half we did a great game. We were 2-0 up, and at the second half we couldn't get the ball, and they got easy goals, and I think it's disappointing because we needed to win this game to keep up on the table.
I spoke to you early in the week, and you said you were going to score a goal.
Well, yeah, I think I'm happy for my first goal in Everton. So I think it's a bitter taste because we couldn't win the game. But overall, I think, like I said, keep on learning from these mistakes.
There's no doubt about it, Graham. That was an amazing finish to the game, and the commentator's curse, you and I were in the press box, struck me at least 3 times.
It did, but in fairness to you, Darren, I think you're entitled when we're 2-0 up to think that we're going to wrap it up, and certainly in the 95th minute when we go 3-2 up, you're more than entitled to think we have. But listen, it wasn't to be. Lessons learnt well at Middlesbrough, and those things do happen every once every so often. And I think the young players that are out there will certainly remember that experience and make sure they don't repeat it again.
Let's hope so. And that's just about it for part 1 of this week's programme. We'll take a quick break now, but we'll be back very shortly to bring you Roberto's reaction to that Bournemouth game, a heartwarming Christmas story, and we feature Graham Stewart surprising someone on their own doorstep. Don't go away. Welcome back to part 2 of this week's Everton show. Well, we've said before, haven't we, on this very programme, that it can be quite challenging for the manager to offer his opinion on a game that's only just finished. Well, that was certainly the case at about 5 o'clock down in Bournemouth last Saturday, when I invited Roberto to appraise an amazing contest.
Well, obviously, it's one of those games that we knew it was going to be tricky and difficult, but it wasn't for the reasons that we expected, because we knew we had to start well. And we did that. I thought the first half performance was really impressive, very dominant. We got 2 very good goals, we defended well. And the second half, you're always going to get maybe the home side having a bit of a reaction. Probably there, we didn't manage the game as well as we can do in a period of 20-25 minutes where we could have just take control of the game a bit more, because Bournemouth were really gambling and we got in situations on the counter-attack 2v2s and we didn't take advantage of that. But then we were unfortunate to lose that lead of 2 goals, but the reaction that you need to become a winning side was there. All of a sudden, the personality that we showed to get that 3rd goal is a feeling of achievement, and at that point, we should have just collect the 3 points. It's 10 seconds to go in the clock. I don't understand why he was allowed the play to go that long. I know is the blaming the celebrations, and you need to add an extra 30 seconds for the substitution, but we were calm. We started the play, and we was a very unfortunate fashion to lose those 2 points, because we did everything right, and it was very, very unfortunate to get punished so badly and so late in the game.
Ramiro Funes Mori has been threatening to score a goal, hasn't he?
Yes, and I thought before the first goal, we caused 3 or 4 very good problems to Bournemouth, creating good chances. And before that, Romelu Lukaku had a very good header. Delivery from that ball situations was very good today, and Ramiro has got that sort of threat. So it was great to see his first goal, and that's why it's such a disappointing outcome in the result, because the performance, of course, you always want to be perfect, but I thought the positives of everyone on the pitch were immense, and they deserve the 3 points. So you can imagine when that happens is a really tough feeling to take home, because the moment that we celebrated the 3rd goal with our fans, with Ross, a bit of inspiration, it was a moment just to collect a very important win, and from that point on, you can imagine that the feeling of frustration is overshadowing all the good things that we did.
Diamond, every player that's ever played football will have suffered the heartache of conceding a last-gasp equaliser, or even a goal that condemned you to a last-gasp defeat. What will the dressing room have been like there after that? Stunned, very, very quiet, angry, sad, every possible emotion you can think of, because you've gone through those emotions in the spell in that second half, right at the end there where Ross scores the goal, wheels off to celebrate. I defy, there's been a lot of talk about the celebration. I defy any player or any fan to not celebrate in the fashion that we did do, because it was so, such a huge event. We thought we'd wrapped up the 3 points, only to let it slip again. So something that I said we had to learn from quickly, and we did on the Tuesday night at Borough. We certainly did. Well, this year, Everton Football Club has launched a Blue Box appeal to support some of the most vulnerable and underprivileged members of our community, such as asylum seekers, children in care and the elderly. Shoeboxes filled with essential items will be distributed to those in need across Merseyside, in the hope that they'll help the recipients have a happier Christmas this year. One recipient will be a guy called Dominique Collins Asala. He's a former asylum seeker from Cameroon who escaped the country because his friends and his family were in regular and very real danger. Having been helped by Asylum Link and Everton in the community when he arrived on Merseyside after a scarcely believable journey, Dominique has now successfully been granted asylum and works as a volunteer for both charities, as well as working full-time as a security guard to support his young family. This is his story.
My brother has been killed by police because protestation. When you protest back home, that's illegal. It's illegal for us. So from there, I run away. I run away from that beginning. You don't move because you want to. You're moving because you know if you stay there, your life is to be in danger because you already lost someone you love, your brother. And the next target maybe is to be you if you're still living there. But I don't move like everyone. I move the poor way, the way you just hide inside the cargo to move the country. When I moved to Brazil, it's been very, very difficult for me. Sleeping on the street anyway. The first 3 months, I've been sleeping on the street. When I moved to England, I've been Hastings. And after Hastings, they moved me to Leicester. Leicester, they moved me to Leeds. Leeds, they moved me to Plymouth. So I've been I'm tourist, so visiting small city in England. When they send me here, but the first week, I go in Asylum Link and I see, wow, there is very different again. Too many nationalities. All people coming everywhere in the world. There, and from there I said, okay, I want to work like volunteer if you can.
I think he was a semi-professional footballer in his country before he had to go, so he's not to himself as justice. So he comes along and he's an inspiration to the guys, and they look at him and they see where he is now. He's got a family. He's also got a great job as well that he loves. So it's an inspiration that them guys can look to achieve.
Most people won't be aware that asylum seekers are not allowed to work, and they only get £36 a week to live on. So there's not a lot you can do on that. So you're actually struggling to find things to do. So when somebody says, would you like to come and do this? It's like a stampede, because people don't have enough to fill the day with. They don't have enough money to go anywhere. They're not allowed to work. So when somebody offers you the chance to do something that you really, really love, you grab it with both hands.
Some of them destitute people, they don't have where to sleep, they don't have food. And I need to give them good direction where they can help them to have some food and place to sleep.
This Christmas there's going to be a blue box appeal, and it's for all the different communities that Everton interacts with, for people to put things in the box and actually give somebody a present. Whether you want to look at that as a gesture or a hand of friendship, it's a good thing.
Difficult to know where to start with that one, Graham. What a truly inspirational and wonderful story.
Terrific, heartwarming. Makes you realise how fortunate we all are, really, doesn't it? Clearly another example of Everton in the community helping out, but it's far more outreaching than that. It goes worldwide, doesn't it?
It is a lovely story, that's for sure. And by the way, you can do your bit to help support vulnerable and underprivileged groups in Liverpool by simply wrapping an old shoebox in Christmas wrapping paper and filling it with essential items suitable for a child, a family and/or the elderly. And then simply drop it off at Everton 1, the Everton Free School, or the Matchday Hub at the games against Crystal Palace on the 7th of December. That's the Monday night, of course. Or Leicester City on Saturday, December the 19th. For a bit more information, visit evertonfc.com/Blue Crimbo. Well, Graham Stewart himself has been out and about this week. On Wednesday evening, he surprised a family from Liverpool who'd been amongst the very first to purchase their 2015-16 half-season ticket.
It's surprise time this evening. We're off to visit Stephen and Frankie, who were one of the first people to buy the half-season ticket. Time to go and give them some goodies. Hello mate, are you Frankie? Yeah. Frankie, I'm Graham Stewart. I used to play for Everton. And this is Stephen. Stephen, lovely to see you. See, your dad will remember me. You're too young, aren't you? But you've got the right gear on, haven't you? Yeah. Right, we've come to surprise you because I believe you were one of the first people to buy our half-season tickets. So as a thank you for that, we've come to give you a few goodies, Frankie. Yay. Sound good? Yeah. Brilliant, mate. Right, Frankie, see this ridiculous jumper I've got on here? Do I look funny in it? No. No? Oh, thank you very much. That's the right answer because you're going to have one now as well. So this is your little Christmas jumper for us. There, let's go, look. All right? Were you? Oh, well, there you go. Christmas has come early for you, Frankie, because you're such a good fan.
Can't believe it. I didn't even, I got up and bought the half-season tickets on the day they came out, but I had no idea that this was a possibility, so fantastic. We're for Evertonians, so we've been getting the priority window, but got to get up at 8 o'clock on the day that they come out, and it gets in the way of work, and we've done a little bit of mathematics, didn't we, Charlotte, and it worked out a bit cheaper, so we thought, we'll just get some half-season tickets with a view to getting full-season tickets next year.
We've got the Christmas jumpers on, and it was great to meet Stephen and Frankie there, and Charlotte, his mum. They were suitably surprised, let's say that. We've got to attract the young, the young fans. They're the future of the football club as well, so we want them here on a permanent basis, and with deals like that, I mean, 11 games for £50. I mean, for Premier League football, that really is a good deal, and every credit to the club for offering that. They're all Evertonians in there, and nice warm, atmosphere in the house as well, and young Frankie was. Waxing lyrical about all the players, so clearly he does his homework, he knows Everton inside out, and he's not a bad little player himself, I'm led to believe.
That's what Christmas is all about, isn't it? Knocking on people's doors who you've never met before.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. Yeah, it was great. As you can see, modelling the Christmas jumper there, Daz, as well. But no, lovely family. Really, really nice to us they were. And young Frankie was terrific as well. He was full of enthusiasm. He was going crazy about all the Everton players. I said to him, who's your favourite player? He went Lukaku, Delafeu, Barkley, and just rattled off the whole side. So terrific. It's a great deal, as I mentioned in VT there as well, the half-season ticket. So well done to them for buying one.
Yeah, catch 'em young. That's the philosophy, isn't it? And that's just about it for part 2 of the Everton show. Coming up after these adverts, we'll have our big interview. And this week it's with Roberto's right-hand man, Graham Jones. He speaks very well, so don't go away. Welcome back to part 3 of this week's show, and it's our popular big interview slot right now. This week we feature Graham Jones, a former lower league centre-forward who's developed into one of the best coaches in the game. Graham's a vital component in the machine that keeps the first team squad ticking over and performing at the high level that the supporters have enjoyed this season. This is our big interview, and this is Graham Jones.
I first came across Roberto in summer of '96. I'd signed for Wigan, Dave Whelan's Wigan, for a club record fee at the time of £150,000, and there was big pressure, even for that kind of fee, because it was third division club to a third division club, or League 2 to League 2 as it is today. And I remember early on loving Roberto's enthusiasm, and one day into pre-season training, we went on a run, and John Dean said, pick a partner. He was the manager, John Dean, and me and Roberto picked each other, and were stretching with calves off and stretching with thighs off, and been friends ever since.
Did you have any inkling back there of the future that you would go on to have?
Not at all. We used to laugh. We used to laugh about certain things. I would do a manager's impression for him, and I was convinced I was going to be the manager. He would never speak about being a manager. He was always a student of the game, always obsessed with the game, and that hasn't changed. He would always watch. He would always watch other teams, top-level teams. His standards were always the best. Could he learn from the best? He'd go and watch certain managers work in his time off during the summer, but he never made a statement to me that I'm going to be a manager. And maybe, I think I left Roberto when I was 29, so Rob would have been 25. So maybe 8 years before we started working together, maybe in that process, management dawned on him that it would be something that he'd like to do.
Of course, when he arrived here, you were part of a larger backroom staff. How has he gone about constructing that staff?
Well, it's took time, and obviously I was proud to say I was his first signing, which, if you know Roberto, means a lot. We inherited Richard Evans at Swansea, who's the head of performance, but Roberto knew Richard's strengths from his time as a player there. So we immediately worked with him. He had a great relationship with him. I'd developed a great relationship with him over a period of time. We got recommended Iñaki Begora as a goalkeeping coach. He came over initially, Iñaki, to see how it went, and 9 years later he's still here. Dennis Lawrence was a player that we had in our team, our first team at Swansea, and you learned straight away of his values and his integrity and the respect that he carries. I think he wanted to finish his career off and joined us 5 years ago. And then obviously meeting Duncan Ferguson here with Duncan's creativity and his Everton background and his experience at the club. So the last one, but certainly by not means least, was Kevin Reeves, who was there at the beginning. He'd been in the job at Swansea a month. Roberto knew Kev. Kev was his assistant manager when he played, and the three of us just hit it off immediately, and it's still a really, really close and tight bond until today. So that's really the group of immediate staff that's running Everton at the minute.
Of course, another person you're quite familiar with is James McCarthy. When did you first come across him?
Well, I'd retired May 2006. I didn't start the assistant manager's role at Hamilton until September 2006, and in that period of time, Billy Reid, the manager, he'd run the team on his own. James was a 15-year-old schoolboy that was in training with the first team, and 6 foot, thinner than he is today, but same animal, same kind of player. And early on, me and Billy were just taken in by his quality and his composure and his competitiveness, and we decided to give him his debut at the age of 15 back in 2006, and he's been on an uphill surge ever since.
Of course, you were very keen to take him to Wigan as well.
Yeah, I remember, obviously Roberto had watched him, liked him, and I remember he was going to go to Wolves, and at Wigan we didn't have a lot of money. £1.2 million was a lot of money, especially in the early days there. And I just remember saying to Roberto, we cannot let him sign for Wolverhampton Wanderers for £1.2 million. We have to do something. And he did. He signed a 17-year-old boy. That's right, 17-year-old, who was 18 in November. And typical Roberto, not trying to give anybody a go who he thinks have got the right attitude and the right ability. Give him his debut against Manchester United when he was 17. Looked a fish out of water. He was rabbit in the headlights. I think James would be the first to admit that for the first 4 months of his Premier League spell at Wigan. But James being James, quick learner. We got him on a physical programme, and we started him against Hull City in an FA Cup game at the beginning of January 2010. And he scored 2 goals, and we started him the following week as a left winger at Wolves and scored again, and he's never been out of our team since.
Of course, he's benefited from going to clubs that are going to play him.
Yeah, but I mean, he's earned that right. You can't just play anybody unless they earn the right. I think Roberto, obviously I recognised the talent early on, but I think Roberto's been an incredible influence on him. An ex-midfield player, somebody with a different education from Spain. And he got a hold of James at the right age. I think what you see with James now is there's a huge influence from Roberto's point of view. I think certainly his off-the-ball habits. And I think on the ball he's improving, but he's a fantastic boy.
Just how satisfying is it, having watched him go from a young boy at Hamilton to now a mainstay of his international side?
Yeah, it's funny, I don't do texts with the boys. I let them get on with it, you know, I understand. I was at the Ireland game, and I texted James afterwards and said to him, well done, you qualified for the Euros. I said, sometimes you need to measure how far you've come in 9 years. Typical James, laid back, emotionally unattached. He just texted back and said, thanks Graham, I'll see you on Wednesday. So, but I think sometimes, you know, we've been through that much together. We've stayed in the Premier League 3 times at Wigan. One of them was Survival Sunday. We won an FA Cup final. We got relegated. We've all came to Everton together. So you don't really take stock and you don't really measure things. Well, that was a moment the other night where I certainly did that. He obviously didn't because he's in the middle of his career. But he's come a long way, and it's not easy. It's not easy not to get to this level. And the most important thing and the most impressive thing about James McCarthy is he's the same person now as what he was 10 years ago. And that speaks volumes.
I enjoy listening to Graham Jones, Diamond.
Yeah, he's a terrific fella, Graham. He really is. And, you know, it's interesting just to listen to, you know, how his relationship with Roberto came about, and, you know, listening to Jamesy there as well about the relationship that they've had as a young man coming into the Premier League and to where he is now. So, you know, the big interviews are good part of this show.
A coach like that must take enormous satisfaction from seeing somebody like James McCarthy at 15 years of age playing for Hamilton Accies, and next summer he'll be an established Premier League star playing in the Euros.
Yeah, of course, I'm sure Graham's really proud of his relationship with Jamesy, and you know, that's what you want as a coach. You know, you want to see players improve. That's what you're there to do as a coach. Get out there on the training ground day in, day out, nurture their talent, improve them, give them the experiences that you may have had in the past as well. You know, offer them your advice with your coaching skills, and then you see that you see that player flourish, and it's a real bonus for you.
How important as a player at any level of the game is a good, solid backroom staff?
Huge. It can make or break a football club. It's as simple as that. You know, at the end of the day, the most important people at your football club are your players. If you've got good players, as a coach and a manager, it makes your life a whole lot easier. But I can tell from my own experiences throughout my career that if you get a good blend, it's terrific for the football club. I look at Joe Royle and Willie Donaghy as a partnership when I was a player. Willie was, you know, more of a dour guy, but a terrific coach, always thinking towards the next game. You'd come in on a Monday morning and think, well, why are we doing this? But he already had it in his mind, what was planned for the next Saturday. Joe Royle would roll out half an hour afterwards, telling jokes and all jovial, and, you know, a really, really good man-to-man manager as well. So to get a good blend is very important.
If there's not a harmonious relationship between the manager and his assistant and the physio or one of the other coaches, the players would get onto it, wouldn't they, I'm sure?
Of course they would, yeah. I mean, players, they're sharp. They pick up on anything, you know, and that's why you've got to be tight as a coaching staff, and our lads are. There's no doubt about that. They're all singing from the same song sheet, and that's half the battle. As soon as a player see a weakness, it's game over.
In the final part of the programme, Graham, we'll look ahead to the Crystal Palace game, so I just want to get your views quickly on the semi-final against Manchester City. First leg at Goodison. The tie's got to be alive by the time we go to the Etihad. Yes, it's a difficult one, isn't it, to manage, because you've got it's 180 minutes of football, and you're quite right, Darren. You've got to make sure that game at the Etihad is still alive when we go to play that one. Now, if that means, you know, there could be all kinds of different scenarios. We could be 1-0 down at home. But do you push for that equaliser and they go and hit you on the counter-attack and you're 2-0 down and you're out the tie? Or do you just take it on the chin that you're 1-0 and you give you a chance in the second leg? I'm just using that as a possible scenario. So really two terrific games of football for us to look forward to and to be excited about. The only certainty is that the away end at the Etihad will be absolutely jam-packed. And that brings us to the end of part 3. In the last segment of this week's Everton show, we'll hear from the very promising academy graduate Callum Connolly, and we'll look ahead to next Monday night's Goodison Park showdown with the men from the Palace. Welcome back to the fourth and final part of this week's Everton show, where one young man really making a name for himself down at Finch Farm is Callum Connolly. The young defender has shown at under 18 and under 21 level that he has a versatility that's rare in a player of his age. To find out more about his game, we sat down with him recently at Finch Farm.
Well, I started at 9, I got my first trial at 9, and then after that I just kept on climbing the ladder up till now, and then hopefully I'll keep on climbing it and get to the top, hopefully.
We've seen you play in all different positions because you are so versatile. Yeah. I know I've heard coaches say you've almost suffered from the fact that you've been able to fill holes anywhere on the pitch. Where do you see yourself? What type of player do you think you are?
Well, at the minute, I wouldn't say I've got a position because I've been playing everywhere really. Left back, centre half, right back, centre mid. So it's tough for me at the moment, but I'll just keep working hard, and then one day it'll just click and hopefully I'll nail down a position.
Do you think being able to play in all those positions, has that helped make you a more rounded player, do you think?
Yeah, playing in the positions have helped me because I know where to go, like the angles and distances and where you should be on a pitch, so it does help you playing in different positions.
And generally, the under-21s this season, how do you feel our form has been so far?
It's been up and down. We can do better, but we started off well against Tottenham, winning 4-0, but we can improve, yeah.
And yourself, your own form, obviously you're more used to playing at this level now with the under-21s. How do you feel you're doing so far this year?
Yeah, I'm enjoying my football at the moment. To start the year off both internationally and at my club, and look to kick on now and keep improving.
Of course, internationally you have been away with England under-19s recently. How was that experience?
Yeah, it's a great experience because you're playing against top players and surrounded by top players, but just great experience playing for your club and internationally.
Obviously the goal is the European Championships next summer. What would it mean to you to be part of a championship squad with England?
Yeah, well, we've got one more qualifying round in, I think it's March, and then hopefully we get through that and then look to kick on and win another Euros.
Graham, is it good to have that versatility about you at that age? Does it mean that you're more likely to get games?
It can do in some respects, yeah. I mean, I don't think it does a youngster any harm to have an awareness of different positions around the park. It's nothing wrong with having a few strings to your bow. But from my experience again, and it's easy for me to say it now, at 45 years of age, you look back and you think to yourself, well, maybe I should have tied one position down and keep yourself, so everybody in football knows your identity.
You like Callum Connolly, don't you?
I like him. He's one of the first players that I saw as you know, when I watched the under-18s and the 21s and what have you. He caught my eye straight away. Powerful, you know, decisive in what he wants to do. Look comfortable with a good left foot. As all these left foot players, they look comfortable, don't they? But certainly one for the future. He's got a chance.
He certainly is a good footballer, is Callum Connolly. Well, Roberto Martinez has put a team out against Crystal Palace at Goodison Park on 2 occasions since taking over at Everton. And both times the visitors won by 3-2. The boss is hoping that history won't repeat itself, and he'll be looking for his big players to step up to the plate on Monday night, one of whom is the in-form England youngster, Ross Barkley.
I think Ross has played in different roles this season, and I think he's getting into that way that he doesn't rely too much on playing in a certain position. It's more what he does depending on different moments of the game. I think we got into a point that he keeps the ball really well. He can penetrate in between lines with ease. He's got a real understanding of how to break teams down, and now he's improving a lot in getting into the box as well. And the goal that he scored against Aston Villa, one of the 2 goals, they are of a very different type of Ross Barkley. We all used to see Ross finishing with quality from outside the box, right and left. I think to get an extra 6-7 goals per season from areas around the 6-yard box is a real strength to add into Ross Barkley's armoury. So it's the natural position of a young player that he keeps
developing, but with an incredible talent that allows you to work in certain aspects that clearly he takes on board and develops them and he masters them.
Graham, there's no doubt about it. That young man will be a key figure on Monday night.
He certainly will be, as he has been throughout the whole of the season. Scoring goals this year as well, Darren, which is vitally important for a midfield player of Ross's capabilities. I'd like to think that Ross will be hitting double figures this season. I think that's a realistic target for him to set himself. Clearly going forward, you know, with his shooting power on either foot, with his capability, no doubt he should be scoring 10 goals a season.
Our supporters are reasonably pleased with the start that we've made, but so should the Crystal Palace supporters about the start their team have made.
Yeah, they'll be delighted, obviously. I mean, you know, they're delighted that Alan Pardew's back at the football club. He's a very popular figure at Crystal Palace Football Club. And they'll be buoyed by the fact that they smashed Newcastle 5-1 as well last week at Selhurst Park, which is a terrific win. I mean, Newcastle clearly aren't in very good form at this moment in time, but they went 1-0 up and Palace have come roaring back at them. But you know, they are a decent side, especially away from home, as we found to our cost over the last couple of seasons. But wins at Chelsea, wins at Liverpool, tough nut to crack away from home.
They certainly are. As we say, Crystal Palace this season have arguably, well, no argument about it, been better away from their Selhurst Park base than they have been in South London, as Graham said. Wins at Liverpool and Chelsea would confirm as much. So Brendan Galloway is expecting nothing less than another really testing game when the Eagles land at Goodison on Monday night.
Tough opposition. I think that the last game, the 5-1, it was I watched it closely, and you know the attacking threat was really good. So you know we're looking to shut that down and get the 3 points.
10 goals in 2 home games for Everton. How much confidence can the lads take from that?
I think that when we got the attackers that we've got streaming forward, you know, I think that we're bound to score a huge amount of goals this season, and 10 goals in the last 2 games is shown that we're more clinical in front of goal.
Obviously Palace are known for their own attacking exploits, players like Balassi and Punchin possibly for you to look after on Monday night.
Yeah, I take every challenge as it comes. I've watched them closely and they're good players, but I think that the team that we've got, I think that we'll be able to get the 3 points.
Are you relieved in some way that Wilfried Zaha is going to be suspended for a game?
Yeah, he's a good player, and I was looking forward to the challenge, but I've just found out now that you just told me that he's suspended, so there'll be a different challenge on the right wing that I'll have to, hopefully, if I get selected, have to keep quiet.
You mentioned their 5-1 win against Newcastle. Just how impressed were you with the way they went forward in that game?
Yeah, really impressive. They've got good attacking options and they've got a good squad, so they're always gonna be a threat to teams. But I think that if we perform the way that we have recently, then we'll get the win.
They've had 2 good results on their last 2 trips to Goodison Park as well. Speaking to the lads in the dressing room, does that ever come into it? Is there ever a sense of trying to gain a little bit of revenge?
I think that I don't think that that was last season and the season before. So I think that we're a lot stronger now, and we haven't really spoken about it. I think because we know that we're better than them, so we just want to prove it on the pitch, and we look forward to hopefully doing that on Monday.
Obviously, going into the game high on confidence after Tuesday's game. Just what did it mean to beat Middlesbrough?
Yeah, it meant a lot. Progressing in the cup is always nice. We've had a good cup run. The games away from home have been difficult, but we've passed the challenges and looking forward to the semis against Man City now.
Graham, understandably at Middlesbrough on Tuesday night, everybody delighted to see Leighton Baines back in action after 7 months, but we mustn't forget this boy's done a smashing job in his absence.
I don't think anybody will forget, Darren, what a terrific, you know, stand-in he's been in some respects. I mean, I say stand-in, it's probably a little bit cheeky of me to say that because he's done terrifically well. I think his stock has certainly risen. There's no doubt about that. You know, and certainly he's shown Evertonians that he's one for the future.
Wilfried Zaha suspended, but still bags of quality in the Palace ranks.
Yes, there is. Balassi has always been a danger to us. Kabai's a terrific player as well. You know, Zaha being suspended won't do us any harm either, but, you know, Punchin's a good player. They're a good counter-attacking side, so we're going to have to be aware of that.
As we approach the Christmas period, plenty of Premier League points to play for, and the league is starting to take shape now, isn't it? You can no longer say it's been a good start or a bad start because it's well underway.
Oh, it is well underway. What are we, 13, 14 games into it now? So, you know, you are where you are on merit, really. But we've got a good opportunity. We've got Palace, we've got Norwich, you know, we've got the Leicester game coming up. We know what good form Leicester are in as well, so that'll be an interesting game. Even more interesting if we've had some positive results against Palace and Norwich.
Plenty of games to look forward to, isn't there? Home and away over the festive period. And that's just about it for another Everton show. Following the Blues is nothing if not dramatic. We've had the highs of the Riverside coming swiftly on the heels of the lows of the South Coast. We are one step away from a return to Wembley, but you can be sure that Roberto won't allow the players to take their eyes off the Premier League ball, and neither will we here on the Everton show. Thanks to the Diamond for his input tonight. Thanks to you all for watching. We've enjoyed your company, and we'll see you soon.